Nō reira. If you can just let our wānau know, pretty much ko wai koe, nō pea koe.
Kia ora wānau. Ko Julian Bailey taku ingoa o Pūtiki ahau. Born and bred Wanganui, Pūtiki is my tribal rohe, and Pūtiki proud. What more can I say?
Beautiful, yes. We definitely have a lot of our Pūtiki wānau here. But where are you living right now? And I guess what took you there?
Yes, indeed. Well, konnichiwa, ohayou gozaimasu. At the moment, I'm living in Tokoname, Bailey HQ, Tokoname, Japan. What brought me here is my wife. My wife's Japanese, and we are now residing we've inherited the family home. And we really come home to indulge in and immerse ourselves in her culture. She's lived in my culture for the last 19 years, so it's time to repay that tohu and come and experience and live in hers.
Ka tika, how beautiful, and definitely what a lovely way to share that load of, getting to know one another's wānau. How has that change been for you?
Well, interesting. Total immersion in the reo here, which is no better way, I suppose. You either sink or swim, and from the river, I'm a powerful swimmer. And it really has been. I've been embraced by her wānau, by the people in our community. We actually live way out in the wops and the boondocks. We're out of the cities. We're out on the coast of Aichi Prefecture in the Bay of Ise, which is it's quite some distance from the cities. Thankfully, at this time, it's just so right. The people here are fisher, rice farmers, and fisher folk. So we're really down with the real Japan.
How beautiful, and it's lovely to hear this kōrero from one of our very own. We see and hear of these kōrero out there in the news, but it's lovely to get it from our very own, our strong awa swimmer paddler. He oi anō, without a doubt, we're all pretty well aware of Delta, of COVID-19, and I guess the impacts that it's having on us as we do our day-to-day tasks. What does COVID, what does Delta look like in the community or in the village that you are in?
It's to tell you the truth, Manahi, it's actually getting quite scary. We hear of the cities where they're virtually in disaster mode. Hospitals are overrun. People are now being turned away and isolating, recovering, dying at home. They can't get to the hospitals. Where I am, we're quite lucky that we're well away from the cities, but now we're starting to hear the impact here locally. People are starting to come down with infections. Our hospitals are starting to be overrun, and it's something that really I'm just hopeful that New Zealand can get hold of it. Because if this really hits New Zealand shores as it's hitting here, our people with diabetes issues, overweight, it's just tragedy for those that are in that realm. Really is. School starts here again probably next week. There's huge issues about returning to school for the local kura, for the kids. A lot of parents are thinking about, well, as reported last night on the news, of not letting their kids go back to school, which again will impact because both parents work, so someone has to be at home to look after the kids. So it really is quite frightening. And as I say, I just hope New Zealand can really get on it. We hear so many people saying, "Oh, it's a hoax, it's fake, it's a government." Oh, I just can't see that. We're seeing it from a different perspective here. Perhaps New Zealand has been lucky in its isolation, and it hasn't really seen the impacts. But I tell you what, cuz it's quite frightening now.
Definitely. And I guess just everything you're saying is putting everything we see into perspective. It gives us a real
Yeah,
taste
very much so.
of
Yep.
what's really
Yep.
going on. I
Yep.
guess
Yep.
for your fellow small community that you are in, what measures have been or what measures are in place to keep the community safe?
Well, no one goes out of their own house environments without a mask. Here we're lucky. As we say, we're in the country. Everyone lives in their house. We've got our own courtyards and those type of things. The houses are quite spacious, but no one goes shopping, goes anywhere without their mask. There's hand hygiene pumps at the entrance to every store, every supermarket, doctor's surgeries. Anywhere you go, there's hand hygiene pumps everywhere. As far as the general population goes, they've issued a series of state of emergencies, which really does little. The state of emergencies at this particular time throughout most of Japan is the bars closed at 9 o'clock. Any bars and pubs, they all close at 8 o'clock actually, and any restaurants serving alcohol have to close at 8. But other than that, the trains are still packed, cheek to jowl. Supermarkets are packed. Pedestrian crossings, as you might often see the scramble crossing in Tokyo portrayed. It's just crazy. And unfortunately, they are prohibited by their constitution, which is a legacy of the Second World War, that the government can't issue proclamations ordering people to do anything. So without lockdown or without measures being enforced, it's just going to get a hell of a lot worse here.
Wow, that is very interesting to know, because a lot of us, we don't get to see or hear, that side of the story, I guess, that there's a whole lot of background to why there hasn't been a lockdown. So definitely, Big Mahi, thank you for giving out a bit of insight. For yourself and your family, what types of measures have you fellas taken to keep your fellas self safe?
Well, there's really only my queen and myself here, which is a bonus. The kids are all grown and flown. Our own personal measures is really distancing. We keep out of the masses. We try and we haven't been to the city since we arrived back in Japan, which was October last year. Every now and again we'll come home back to the awa for 3 to 6 months to catch up, to bond with our mokos, our growing tribe of mokos and friends in wano. As you know, I'm also pretty much a full-time carver, and I've always got a million orders to catch up on as soon as people realise I'm home. But here it's beautiful. I love it. I've got space. It's quiet. We're pretty much home-based now. We're in our summer holidays, which is very much like Christmas holidays in New Zealand. It's usually six weeks to 2 months off. The schools are all closed. I also teach English at one of our local kura, and that's been a blessing. But at this time of the year, August, midsummer, temperatures today are supposed to be knocking on 37 degrees. It's super hot. The humidity is almost 100%. So you walk outside, you're sweating within 2 or 3 minutes. So it's really darting from air-conditioned refuge to refuge. And I'm here in my workshop studio. I've got air fans pumping. It's quite nice, especially this time of day. I try and get out early in the morning, around about 7 o'clock before the sun starts pumping, and I'll spend up till probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock until it starts getting midday. Then I'll hikoi back inside into the refuge of the air-conditioned rooming, and I might venture out again about probably 2:30, 3 o'clock for another few hours. Other than that, we've got our mara growing. We're pretty much secluded. Our measures are really masking up whenever we go. Now, another thing that's quite interesting is I've never seen a testing station here in Japan. They talk about testing, and I'm almost wondering whether it's whether we're actually hearing the true numbers because of the games, because of the revenue that's required from the games. Japan, I think, is going to go into some severe economic difficulty. The amount of funding the government poured into the games, all the smaller businesses, mum and dad restaurants, izakayas that had success during the Rugby World Cup have thought, wow, how can we miss? Let's upgrade. Let's take out a loan and get new cookers, new staff, new whatever. And they've gone all in. And now to have the games cancelled for 1 year, and then now a restriction on people attending the games, both international and local, there's going to be a lot of hurt here, financially. So it's probably another reason why the government can't really or won't look at shutting down the place. The economic disaster that's just knocking on the door is vast.
Definitely, and I feel the ones who will pay the most will be the tangata whenua.
Very much so. Yeah. Well, we've got places like Kyoto that are completely shut down, tourist meccas that are all but over. We see bus parks, just full of buses that are not used anymore because no one's travelling. The airports, they've taken a huge hit because of the international ingress of tourism's virtually come to a halt. So Japan at this time is extremely interesting.
Yes, definitely.
We're very lucky here because we're 2 minutes from the beach. So we've got basically a private beach to ourselves, us and locals. And everyone's, as to say, measures we're taking, we're socially distancing. People here are hugely, hugely polite, just freaky polite. They go out of their way to greet you, to welcome you, to step out of your way. It's just incredible. The aroha that I've experienced here is on a par to our own, easily.
And that's lovely, especially, for someone being so far away from home and in these difficult times. For a homeboy, for a river boy, obviously there's the beach, but have you found a place for you where you feel like it's a little bit of home, a little bit of home away from home?
No, not really. Not really. I really enjoy coming home because of, the things I miss so much. Here I'm surrounded by a million tiled rooftops. Home, especially my ware at Pūtiki, it's surrounded by trees and the awa's just across the road and the bird song, the tui, and being home's got its own uniqueness. Apart from the steak and cheese pies and fish and chips and boil-ups, but we don't have anything like that here actually. But here the food's, especially out in the country, is really healthy. It's homegrown. In comparison to a lot of the supermarkets where the food is nutritionally vacant, there's not much good nutrition in food today because it's fast grown, grown big to produce, fast to sell. Here, the legendary Kobe beef is, fed nutrients and all sorts of fast grown products. Whereas New Zealand, the grass fed meats and free range eggs and vegetables are quite a difference. But I'm lucky here that a lot of our fish comes directly from the moana. There's so many fishermen around here that are always giving us fish. I've got tupuna. A lot of ancestral kaumatua gardeners that use heritage seeds and they're all wano, so we're deluged with kai from the garden, from the mara. I'm a student of a couple of tohunga gardeners that come around often and give me hints on how to grow things. This year I've grown bumper crops of tomatoes and asparagus and onions, red and brown. We've got watermelons pumping. Stuff I've never ever experienced at home, but definitely tricks and techniques and learnings that I'll be taking back home when we next head that way. But as for a place to feel like home, not really. The only time I really experience home is going down to the coast in the evenings and looking at the setting sun, knowing it's heading back to home. As I say, the land of the rising sun. It's beautiful, and it's the rising sun. I'm not talking about Gizzy. I'm talking about Aotearoa. So no, I dearly miss home. No other Maori here in my region. I haven't struck any. Couple of Kiwis, but not another Maori. That's, I suppose, a legacy of living out in the boondocks.
Yes, ka tika. Well, this is all just so interesting. It feels like you're kind of taking us on a bit of a journey on what it's like to be in Japan at this time, at this moment. And everything you've said, I guess, we here in Aotearoa are kind of experiencing it now. Maybe not so much on a bigger scale as you fellas are, but we are starting to experience those things. Our borders are closing, less traveling, our masks are being permitted at certain places. So definitely a little bit of an insight. And there is quite a little bit of talk about, individuals not really believing it. And so I thank you for giving us a real insight on what that's like.
Yeah. Well, I run a quite an active Facebook page. I post a lot of the images from around our area here, around our region. A lot of what we're hearing on the news, a lot of what we're actually seeing. I take a million pics of the community and community life. One of the things that's really impressed me here working at the kura is the lunches that they provide. The lunches are fully nutritious. There's no hungry kids here. There's no really obese kids. The kids they actually participate in the serving up of the kai. Each kid's got a toothbrush at his desk. So as soon as he's finished his meal, he packs his dishes away. They all go out and brush their teeth. It's just so many things we could emulate here that have benefited the health and the wealth of the community. The kids participate in the cleaning of the classrooms. They clean the kura. They're out raking the leaves from the gardens and cleaning the pathways. And I think that's also a great indicator of why we hardly see any graffiti anywhere. And I've never heard or seen of any schools being torched or vandalized, because I think those kids have a stake in those kura. So they're the last ones that are going to be doing anything untoward towards those institutions. As I say, there's just so much here that we could emulate from the Japanese society. Everyone loves their community. We don't see rubbish on the roads. If you live in this house, you take care of all the area out in front. And often we see kaumātua working their way down the road, cleaning the sidewalks, the berms, the paths, and the public gardens, which is huge. There's a huge community involvement here in the environment. Probably more so than the cities. The cities are a different world. It's a world that's Cityville. We don't really go there, but in this particular environment, it's just so fabulous.
See, and that's important too, because that's a side that the rest of the world don't get to see of Japan. All we do get to see is, that's right, big buildings, city life. Thank you so much. It's been a journey for myself, and hopefully we can take the rest of our whānau on a journey as well, through your story that you've given to our whānau, or that you've shared with our whānau. Look, before we do wrap up though, what does the rest of the day look like for you?
Me, I'm just. There's my outlook on. That's a little bit of Japan for you. That's my front yard here. There's my studio, my workbench. I'm loaded up with mahi for the day. I'll probably be in here here for carving for the next couple of hours. And around about 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'll head off inside and have morning tea and a light lunch with my queen. And around about 2:30, I'll come back out, do a little bit more mahi. It's not so much mahi; it's my creative freedom, my creative expression. I carve and create because I really enjoy it. Knowing that long after I'm gone and pushing the daisies up, my mahi toy is going to be living somewhere, and it's intergenerational. I've done taonga for kōrero that have passed on, and now their grandchildren or great-grandchildren have got those taonga. And, Judd, the bindings come loose. Can you fix it up? Or my son's turning 21, or my wife's, or whānau's coming from overseas. I need something to give. Can you produce something? And we'll spend the time and get their kaupapa, their story, what they want to put down into the piece, and yahoo! I just love that sort of creation. So that'll be me. Maybe about 4 o'clock, I head off into our local gym because fitness is also a huge part of my life. If you're fit and healthy, you've got a good chance of fighting anything off. We're both fully vaccinated, and but even so, we still don't venture out into the populace so much. We have to go shopping, so it's down to our local supermarket, which is just fabulous because it's local grown, local kai, local prices. So then that'll be it. Maybe about 7 o'clock we'll head in. We'll head down to the tide, down to the moana and watch the sunsets, and just become part of the environment here. It's so beautiful.
The story is just so beautiful. So thank you for sharing it with our whānau. Look, one last message for those of us who are here at home. Delta, COVID-19, are there any words of love, any words of aroha, or even some words of support for our whānau back here?
Well, all I could really say is, kia kaha, be strong. We've all got choices to make, individual choices, whether it's for or against the vaccinations. That choice is up to you. Think wisely, research well, have a look at what's happening here on the news. It's disaster, it really is, and I just hate for this to happen to our country. Just really go into it with wide eyes. I know there's lots of reasons why, and there's lots of reasons why not. To me, I'm knocking on 65 next year, so in 20 years' time, when issues may arise from this vaccination, may be a blessing at age 85. So, to me, it's not an issue. But to those raising families, got young children, individual decisions need to be made. So all I can say is think wisely, absorb as much research and knowledge as you can, and try not to listen to too much of the conspiracy theorists.
Look, Tarete Papa, tēnā koe, love to you and your queen. Thank you for coming on today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, Manahi. And as you may know, I go back a bit with your koro. Rura was one of my first mentors in the world of whakaaro, and your mum. She's a dear sweetheart friend of mine from way back. So it's been a pleasure to connect with you too, Eho.
Tēnā koe.
Ana.
Stay home.
Stay safe. Kia ki wana, kia ki waka papa.